The following is an exclusive presentation of WI Garden Media, the voice of Garden Talk Radio. Coming up on the program today, we're going to discuss how you can best build your soil, as well as raised beds, containers, ground garden. Is there one better than the other? We'll discuss that. And our guest is author Joseph Lofthouse will be with us, and we'll answer your garden questions. The hour's full, so join us.
You are listening to the most informationally packed hour of garden-focused radio in the country and on the internet with your host, husband and wife team Joey and Holly Baird. This is the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
And welcome to another edition of the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show. Happy to have you along on today. Listen to the program wherever you may doing that at. I'm your host, Joey Baird. Beside me is my wife, co-host, best friend, and gardening partner,
Holly Baird.
This program is for you, about you, to help your garden grow better, to maintain your landscape, grow healthier trees, make your grass look greener, as well as preserving what you grow. Again, thank you for tuning in, whether you're listening to us on one of the 18 AM and FM frequencies broadcasting our program here in 2024, through a radio app, through our parent website, which is thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com, under the Season 8 tab at the top of the page, in-studio video replay or podcast replay. Thank you so much for being here. You want to be part of the program? Participation is welcome. You can do that by giving us a call, toll-free, coast-to-coast, at 1-800-927-SHOW. That's 1-800-927-7469. Or you can give us send us an email, gardentalkradio@gmail.com. That's gardentalkradio@gmail.com. Send us your question over. Let us know where you're listening from, and we can go from there. Well, before we get in the program, Holly, it's time for this week's Joke of the Week. And does lettuce grow better in a greenhouse? Does lettuce grow better in a greenhouse? Remain to be seen.
This week's garden joke is brought to you by Rescue.com. American-made Rescue produce products to keep your family home, yard, and protected from pests, insects like wasps, hornets, yellow jackets, flies, ants, and more. Learn more at Rescue.com. That's RESCUE.com.
I think romaine is one of the luxury lettuces, isn't it?
I guess.
It's a good tasting lettuce. It's better than iceberg, I can tell you that right now.
I don't know why you call it a luxury.
Well, it's a high class. If you have iceberg or romaine, you're going to go romaine every time.
Some people like iceberg. Don't hate on lettuce.
All right.
It's an equal opportunity vegetable.
Green.
Yeah.
Well, let's jump into the program here and talk about building your soil, which is the key to any type of growth, whether ornamental or edible. And there is some things in which, not all soil is created equal, just like not all gardeners are created equal. There are certain calibers of soil that is good, bad, and horrible.
So one thing you want to do is think about your soil, and also, give it a feel.
What has that soil been through?
Right. Well, what has that soil been through? But give it a feel. You can tell a lot by your soil just by feeling it. If you feel the soil and it feels nice and loamy, as Joey says, it feels like soft and fluffy, kind of.
What you would imagine soil to feel.
What you would imagine soil to feel.
Now,
like.
This is not a fix-all, end-all. This is it's a starting point here.
Right. So if it feels gritty, like super, super gritty, then you might have sandy soil. If it feels like it's sticky, maybe like if you...
Play-Doh.
Like Play-Doh, like you take a palmful and it just kind of sticks together.
If you threw it at your neighbor's window, would it break it?
Right, right. Exactly. So you can kind of feel that too. You can feel those different components of possibly if it's sandy or clay-like versus something that's a good combination. So that way you can, that's one thing that can help you kind of think about what you're going to do to build your soil.
Now, in order to have a understanding of the molecular level of the soil here, soil test is what you're going to need. It's going to tell you the pH. It's going to tell you the NPK. It's going to tell you what you need to do, what you need to stop doing, how to get your soil in the area in which you want it to in order to grow what you're wanting to do such. You can go to soilsavvy.com and they'll send you can purchase a soil test kit, and they will give you 16 points of analyzation on your soil to tell you what's going on. Because though, yes, you can feel it. Is it dense? Is it loamy? Is it gritty? You cannot tell the level of nutrient value or pH by looking at it. Now, there are some telltale signs that if you are growing in that soil and your plants are exhibiting certain characteristics that are not traditionally to that plant, then you can say, okay, something's not right here. The plant is telling me something's not going on. But until I get that soil test, I will not know precisely what I need to do to correct the problem in the soil.
Absolutely. So you want to figure out, what it might need. Now, maybe you are like, I just know that I want to add some organic matter. I don't feel there's necessarily a problem, but I feel like I'm not finding a lot of worms in my garden, or I feel like I could just perhaps give it some more fertilizer, aka love, whatever. So you can feed your soil organic matter. So you can do things like shredded leaves, home composting, organic matter, peat moss, properly aged or dried animal manures, and then compost from maybe yard compost, things like that. So not just kitchen compost, but yard compost as well.
You want to make sure whatever compost or organic material you're adding to your garden or your compost bin, you are not adding a material that has been treated or in some form or life sprayed with a chemical in which will be persistent in through the composting process and back into your garden that may disrupt your broadleaf plants or strictly kill off anything that's trying to grow in it because of the high toxicity levels in that soil. So knowing the chain of events from if it's kitchen waste, you composted it, it's pretty good. If it's lawn clippings that is organic, not chemically sprayed with a weed and feed, you're breaking that down, putting that in the garden, you're good. If you're getting that animal waste from somewhere, know the source and what that animal has eaten, because we've had Joe Lampo on before, we've had others on talk about poison compost or killer compost, where the grasses which are fed to the animals do not disrupt the animal's health. I mean, I don't know if it's good. It can't be good for the animal, but it doesn't, make the animal sick. But coming out into the compost manure to compost, that chemical is still there and will decimate your garden.
Absolutely. So you want to keep that in mind about what you're adding with your organic matter to your soil. So then you can, once you've had a soil test done, build up your soil or just added organic matter, etc. You want to protect your soil with mulching. So we talked about mulching
a couple weeks ago.
And so there's different mulches out there. We can cover them real quickly. One would be like straw. You could use leaves. If you have those, you can put leaves on your garden bed, or you can put them in your soil. They're multifunctional. What else?
Chemical seed-free grass clippings. Shredded paper you can use as mulch. Weed barrier, though it's not organic, it can be a form of mulch because you're suppressing the weeds and in some instances holding moisture in the event that you have put your weed barrier over top of your irrigation system. And there's numerous. You can use wood chips if you're going to a perennial bed, a rose bed or asparagus bed or a rhubarb or something like that, where strawberries, where they're going to be there for a long period of time. So you have some type of foundation. And mulch cannot necessarily be used. It can be used in the garden, in the grow beds, but also can be used in the pathways too. Compaction, designated grow areas. And permanent walk spaces in your garden, whether you have a raised beds in your garden or you have ground garden that you have gridded off to where this is only where I walk and this is only where I grow, and compaction will not occur because I'm not walking in the areas where the plants are growing.
Right. That's the big thing, is making sure that you are not further compacting.
Stomping around.
Yeah, so those are some great tips.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things when it comes to soil. Soil is a living organism. It's not a device in which, in the gardening world, a device in which the plant just sets in a medium for the plant to grow in. It's feeding the plant. It is a home for the plant. It has many, many different elements of perfection and perfectness to it that it allows everything to occur in which we know that we can't see or not necessarily pay attention to. on the organic manner level. So with that being said, Holly, there's a lot to go into growing and building healthy soil. We've just touched a little bit of it. So with that being said, Holly, Walton's Inc. Incorporated has the stuff in which you need.
Yeah, we were brought to you today by our sponsor, Walton's Inc. Listen, we know you care about where your food comes from. Canning and preserving your fruits and vegetables are great, but what about the meat? At Walton's, you can get all the equipment, seasoning, and supplies to make sausage, jerky, and any other meat product your way to your high standards. You want to make snack sticks that people will actually like? Walton's created meatgistics.com, an informational site to help you make the best finished product. Walton's even has a full line of their own meat grinders, mixers, sausage stuffers to help you go from animal to edible. Walton's everything but the meat. You can use code GROW50 to save 10% off your order of $50 or more, and that's at waltonsinc.com.
When we return, raised beds, containers in the ground, is there one better than the other? We'll discuss that. You're tuned in to the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
Got a question for Joey and Holly? Send it via email anytime to gardentalkradio@gmail.com.
Make watering easy. DripWorks provides quality drip irrigation supplies and equipment to gardeners just like you for all your growing needs across the U.S. and Canada. Purchase online at dripworks.com. Wind River chimes will always be the inspiring harmony. With a large selection and customization options, you will find the sound that soothes you. Visit windriverchimes.com to shop and find out more. Mantis tillers, the premium long-lasting gas-powered tillers, are the perfect solution for any garden. This Mantis machine is available with 2 or 4 cycle engines with a 19-inch or 16-inch tilling width. Your DIY companion in your garden and your lawn converts easily for edging, aerating, and more with optional attachments. Find details at mantis.com. Make hand watering easy and enjoyable with HoseLink retractable hose reels. No more tripping over hoses, kinks, tangles, and avoiding rolling the hose up. With an automatic retractable HoseLink saves you time and effort manually coiling up your hose, leaving your focus on the things that will bring you joy in your garden. Available in multiple colors and lengths, you'll be sure to find the retractable hose that works for you. To find out more and to buy online via hoselink.com, use coupon code RADIO10 for $10 discount, valid starting April 1st through May 31st.
Soil Diva Liquid Microbe Stimulant Spray improves the health of your plants you work hard to grow, stimulates the natural enzymes, and increases beneficial soil bacteria. Go to soildiva.net. Soildiva.net. Water supply tanks provide BPA-free, long-term, safe storage for drinking water from 35 to 1,500-gallon tanks. Water supply tanks has you covered. From preparing for unexpected needs, off-grid property, easy gardening access, and more. For questions and to order, visit watersupplytanks.com and use coupon code GARDENING10 to save 10% off your order. Rootmaker starts your plants off right and keeps them going through harvest. From their seed starting trays with an innovative design that air prunes the roots to their large variety of grow bags, 1 to 60 gallons, their products will provide you the harvest you've never seen before. Visit rootmaker.com. Use coupon code ROOT24 to save 15% off your order at rootmaker.com. That coupon code is ROOT24 to save 15% off your order at rootmaker.com. Your mosquito frustrations are over. Now with Mega Catch, suitable for residential and commercial use. Mega Catch mosquito traps produce a vast array of mosquito-attracted stimuli, including safe CO2, and can attract mosquitoes and other biting insects up to 150 feet away. Easy to use and set up. The Mega Catch is ready to make your outdoor space comfortable and enjoyable at megacatch.com. Use coupon code JOEYB, my name Joey B, at checkout and receive 20% discount on your entire trap order at megacatch.com. Water the right amount for the right time with the Soaker Hose from Eaton Brothers. Soaker Hose is one of the best ways to water without drowning your plants. And with a timer, it becomes a set-it-and-forget-it way to keep your plants healthy and happy. Soaker Hose is designed to work at low pressure, seeping water slowly and steadily over the course of 15 to 20 minutes so the water can percolate the soil and get to the roots. Designed and manufactured to be lead-free, so no harmful chemicals or odors are added to your water supply. Visit EatonBrothers.com for more information and to buy. Welcome back to the Garden with Joy and Holly radio show. Moments away, we're going to discuss raised beds, grow bags, containers, which is better. We'll talk about that. But first, a word from Honey Bee Healthy.
Since 2000, Honey Bee Healthy Inc. has helped beekeepers maintain healthy and thriving hives. Attracting pollinators to your garden this year is as simple as hanging a hummingbird feeder with a mixture of sugar, water, and Honey Bee Healthy Original. Do not be alarmed to see birds, bees, butterflies dining together at the feeder. Pollinators can coexist peacefully. Honey Bee Healthy is offering a 10% discount on an 8-ounce bottle of Honey Bee Healthy Original to the show's listeners. Enter discount code BEGARDEN, that's BEE Garden at checkout. For more information, mixing instructions, and to purchase product, visit honeybeehealthy.com.
So, we have people who listen to us that garden in all genres of the word garden, from raised beds to containers to in the ground to straw bale to aquaponics to hydroponics, the whole gamut. And people will often say, well, is there one better than the other? And the answer is yes and no. We're going to go over raised beds versus ground gardens versus containers, and give you our thoughts on the advantages and disadvantages to those three specific types of gardens.
Yeah, so one is, I guess we'll start with what people might think is the most common. It's ground gardening. So that's when you take your little shovel or big shovel, turn the soil over, or use a rototiller, what have you. That's ground gardening. And then you grow your seeds and plants into the ground. So one is that you have to think of the commitment to that. So you would have to choose a spot. You would have to choose a spot that works for you and your yard in the sun. And it's going to be there, assuming, for a while.
And or is the soil good? You got a soil test. Was there a good soil there? Is there going to be such a commitment to revitalizing the soil that it doesn't make practical sense to go in the ground? Are you, like you said, are you going to be there for a while, or are you going to some people move every so many years just because that's what they like to do. So that may not be the greatest move, though it's the least cost because you don't have much invested in it. It's just the ground. If somebody moves in, they don't like it, they just seed it with grass and be done.
Absolutely. And also it would be limited to accessibility. That might be too low for some people. It might be something where the only spot in your yard where ground garden would work wouldn't be easy to get to, type of thing.
I would say, if we did a survey, if everybody that listens to this show, what type of gardening do you? I think the predominant one is going to be in the ground, or at least at some point in their gardening career. Yeah, I did in the ground for a number of years until. And some of them are still doing in the ground now. But I think the story is until, or yes, I did at one point. Well, and there's disadvantages to in the ground as well. Less control of weeds for the most part. Now, if you are a meticulous gardener where you have the time to commit to 40 or 60 hours a week to go through your whole backyard and work, and you literally could have any magazine cover on, photograph it and it looks pristine. Wonderful. Thumbs up to you. You get 2 gold stars. Many of us don't have that either time, patience, or ability to manicure a garden to that level. So weeds are going to be a much more readily common occurrence. Now, that doesn't mean that it's bad. When it gets bad, and it's whenever you allow those weeds to take over, like we do, like we have. Mm-hmm. Because of the size or because of time commitments where other things are more prioritized than spending 4 or 5 hours in an afternoon weeding.
Right.
And we're not bad people. You're not bad people if you have a weedy garden. We're not getting to that.
Yeah, and then also there could be erosion. So if before we changed to raised beds, we kind of did this hilling system where we did these raised berms type of thing. And it gave us a nice loamy loose soil, but then also when it rained, it could erode away, wind, etc. So that could be a problem too if you don't want to deal with some of that erosion.
But raised beds, great way to get into gardening. You can go 4x4. You can go 2 foot wide by 6 foot long. You can do the whole backyard. It's, the yard or the backyard or the front yard is your canvas. You can create it however you want at almost no expense. Just some check boxes. You just got to check some boxes off and then make a move and start running towards the finish line.
Right. So then we have raised bed. So this is less of a commitment. Still could be a commitment because you are bringing in soil and you're building a raised bed. But if you just build a frame, you could possibly remove that if you were to move. But you still have to make a decision of where you're going to put it.
With all of these, sunlight, adequate sunlight, most sunlight in the day is where these beds need to be located. With raised beds, out of the three, I think it's the most expensive because most people will think a raised bed has got to be 2x12 pressure treated lumber, fill in the blank, the number of the 4 foot wide by X 8, 12, 16, 20 feet long. They don't have to be 2x12 or 2x8 or 2x10. We've seen many beautiful gardens in which they were near a wooded area and they were able to harvest trees from the forest or the woods that are 8 or 10 inches in diameter, and they created a perimeter and then filled that internal spot with compost and created a raised bed that way.
Right. And that's definitely an option. You can get very creative with raised beds. You can get portable raised beds or pop-up raised beds, whatever you want to call them. You can get raised beds that you either build yourself or purchase that are off the ground for accessibility.
Elevated.
Yeah, elevated for accessibility. There's going to be less weeds, and you can pretty much place them anywhere as long as you have the space and the sunlight.
Right. And with, you're going to, the beds, you're going to have to spend money on that. You're going to have to invest money on that. The soil, you're going to have to invest money on that. And with all of these, if you're going to top dress your in-ground garden or fill your raised beds, or as we get to the containers, you want good quality compost. You want good quality. El Cheapo stuff you bought on sale, you're going to get terrible results. Milwaukee area Blue Ribbon Organics is a good source. Other places in the country, call your local independent garden center or go on your local Facebook garden group and say, hey, where's a good place to get good quality bulk soil? Not necessarily the city pile that's free is the best way to go because you don't know what everybody's thrown in that. And now it's broke down. And like we talked about in the first segment, there can be a multitude of any type of chemicals or diseased plants that have broke down, and it may have not got hot enough. And those spores are still active in that pile. And you're going to bring it home and think you've done a good thing. And it just causes all kinds of problems for your garden.
Right. That's something to keep in mind as well, especially when we talk about container gardening. So because you still have to put some sort of soil in your containers for container gardening, it is definitely very much less of a commitment, and it can be beneficial in many ways, whether it be where you're like, I want to have XYZ growing right out my kitchen door so I can harvest them.
Kitchen garden. That's what the Europeans call it.
Yeah. So I can harvest that, every day, whether it be fresh lettuce, green beans, whatever. But then you also have to keep in mind of where the light is.
Rootmaker.com has pop-up raised beds. They have grow bags, 1 to 60 gallons. You can use coupon code ROOT, ROOT24 to save 15% on your order. At checkout, all coupon codes you hear during the show can be found at our parent website, the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com. Under the Money tab at the top of the page, they're all listed for you, so you have access to them. And containers it doesn't have to be a terracotta pot or a grow bag. You can use half of a whiskey barrel. I've seen containers, a morph between a container and a raised bed, those 55-gallon blue drums cut in half and on stilts, or actually setting on the ground. You want to make sure they're food grade, and if you feel growing in plastic is fine, have at it. Some people do not like that type of situation, but it can be anything. It can be a box that you make with some, 2x4s or anything you can think of. That's what a container can be.
Right. I mean, you can even do containers easily in your home that you would bring in, or vice versa.
Hanging baskets.
Yeah, hanging baskets. There's a lot of options in containers. I love container gardening. I think it's very smart and fun, and I think it's a way to incorporate vegetables and or other plants in your life without a huge commitment.
Now, with a container, what can you plant in a container? It's based on how big the container is. 3-gallon grow bag, you can get 1 pepper. 5 or 7 or 10-gallon grow bag, you can get a couple of potatoes. You can get a tomato in there. A 1-gallon grow bag, you can grow some leaf lettuce. So it's really up to you, and you don't want to overcrowd things. Now, out of these 3, the containers are going to be your most difficult to keep hydrated because of the limited amount of soil. A device that has less soil dries out quicker. So ground's going to dry out slower than a raised bed, and raised bed's going to dry out slower than a 5-gallon or 10-gallon or even 20-gallon grow bag or terracotta pot or a half of a whiskey barrel. So hydration, dripworks.com, Eaton Brothers with a soaker hose. There's a lot of options in order to hydrate. And with all of these, we talk about it all the time, you can utilize mulch in your containers, in your raised beds, on the ground. Now, Holly, out of all 3 of these that we've talked about, and there's like a dozen more that we could, which one would you say a beginner, if they've never gardened before, should go with? And 2, if you were a beginner, knowing what you know now, what would you go with?
I would definitely start with a container, and I think that other people should start with containers or like a pop-up raised bed that could be a container too. It's going to teach you things like how to just grow plants, because I think I know what you would choose, but I think because a lot of people, knowing my background, I didn't grow up like on a farm. I would think that a container would be easy for me to manage, not a huge commitment if I hated it, allow me for accessibility where on days where I'm just like not feeling it, I don't have to worry about weeding, and then still be able to have access to a harvest.
I would go with, for a beginner, I would have them go with a 4x4 foot in-ground garden that has good soil. It's 16 square feet. You can do the square foot garden method if you want to, a phenomenal way in order to maximize your space, but it will give you the ability to see how the soil reacts. And it's not a big commitment, and you can get pop-up raised beds in the same size. So it's a good way, and it doesn't take up a lot of space. I'm not saying you have to dig up the whole backyard and have 16 or 2,400 square feet, which to somebody who wants to have a lot of produce would think that would be the way to go. The bigger, the better, the more tomatoes I can have, the more cucumbers I can have, pumpkins, all that. But with that, you have to times and multiply the time in which is spent that you do not currently understand at this point where, I want all this, I'm going to have a big backyard.
But why the in-ground or the 4x4?
Because if you don't like it, let it grow back to wheat.
Go ahead.
Like,
is it because of crop rotation?
No, just in low commitment to cost. Soil test, dig up a 4x4 square foot. If you like it and things go well and you're willing to commit, you can go bigger. If not, and you find a girlfriend or boyfriend and you get married and you move out, it just goes into grass and the next person takes over and there's nothing there. You don't have to take a raised bed down. You don't have to dump soil out of containers. No cleanup whatsoever.
Okay.
So that being said, it soon is warming up. Well, it is warming up in a lot of places in the country, and you're going to have to start worrying about those Japanese beetles, weevils, borers in your backyard and front yard.
And what better way to prevent these pests from destroying your garden than by controlling them while they are larvae? Grub Gone is an easy-to-apply granular product that can spread on your turf to successfully control grub invaders. Developed by Phylum Bioproducts from a naturally occurring bacteria, Grub Gone is a non-chemical BT product that specifically targets only scarab pests, and it's safe to use around bees and other beneficial insects.
If you already have Japanese beetles flying around your yard, and some of you do, you can certainly get Beetle Gone, which is an organic water dispersible powder that can be sprayed directly on your edible plants. Find out more at phyllumbioproducts.com, the natural solution. phyllumbioproducts.com. That's PHYLLOM bioproducts.com. Stay with us. When we come back, Joseph Lofthouse will be with us. Author, you're tuned in to the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show.
Have a garden question? Give Joey and Holly a call now or anytime 24/7. Just dial 1-800-927-SHOW. If you can't get through, leave a message and they will call you back. Call now 1-800-927-SHOW.
Watering is the key to a healthy garden, but it can take up a lot of your time. Water less with Soil Moist. Grow beautiful plants with less water. Soil Moist polymers reduce your plant's watering by 50%, reduce transplant shock and soil compaction, and are effective in your soil for 3 to 5 years. It is an effective watering management aid that is ideal for internal and external plantings, such as trees, shrubs, containers, baskets, flower beds, vegetables, and turf. Soil Moist acts as a form of insurance for your plants and is environmentally friendly. It is easy to apply at the time of planting or transplanting. Spend more time doing what you enjoy and let Soil Moist work smarter for you. Bolster your plant's nutrient and water uptake with Soil Moist. Enhance microbial and plant growth. No need to spend extra time worrying about watering your plants. Easy to follow instructions right on the label. To find where to purchase and to see all their products, contact your local garden center or visit soilmoist.com.
Jung Seed Company is a family-owned and operated seed company since 1907 with the largest selection of seeds and plants online. Use coupon code 10TG24 to save 10% off your order at jungseed.com. That coupon code is 10TG24 at jungseed.com for 10% off. Dig planting holes from a comfortable standing position. Step, twist, pull, and plant. Visit ProPlugger.com.
Have insects such as aphids or fungal gnats invaded your plants? Fight back with Summit Year-Round Spray Oil and Summit Mosquito Bits. Organic Summit Year-Round Spray Oil kills insect pests on indoor and outdoor plants. All natural mosquito bits kill fungal gnats larvae in container plants. Both products are harmless to people, plants, and wildlife. Summit Year-Round Spray Oil and Summit Mosquito Bit are available at garden centers, hardware stores, and at SummitResponsibleSolutions.com.
Garden like a pro in 3 easy steps and receive customized fertilizer recommendations for your garden or lawn. Soil Savvy helps you determine what nutrients your plants need to thrive. Never again over-apply nutrients they don't need. A patented process that makes you a smart gardener. To get your soil test kit, go to mysoilsavvy.com.
If you could double the life of your raised bed boxes by sealing the wood with a clear non-toxic wood preservative, would you? Well, now you can with a clear, penetrating product called Internal Wood Stabilizer. It's 100% non-toxic and easy to apply. Seal your untreated wood surfaces, even chicken coops, by spraying on Internal Wood Stabilizer. It's invisible, seals the wood from the inside out, and never wears off. Recommended by organic gardening experts. Internal Wood Stabilizer. Check it out at timberprocoatingsusa.com.
Transform your exterior wood surfaces with Rubio Monocoat's new Duro Grit. Say goodbye to multiple coats thanks to Duro Grit's incredible patented one-layer technology. Enjoy vibrant, durable color that won't peel or flake even in the harshest conditions. Rubio Monocoat Duro Grit is tomorrow's UV protection for exterior wood. Learn more at RubioMonocoatUSA.com. Use code JOEY for 10% off. That's RubioMonoCoatUSA.com.
Welcome back to the Garden with Joe and Holly radio show. Happy to have you along. Holly, let's go to the hotline and bring in our guest for this week.
Joseph Lofthouse adopted the principles adaptation agriculture in response to the harsh growing conditions in high-altitude, short-season desert gardens. Instead of relying on expensive poisons, labor, and material to coddle the plants, he encourages genetic diversity, cross-pollination, and survival of the fittest, allowing the plants to adapt themselves to the current and ever-changing ecosystem, thus simplifying farming and seed saving. Better adapted varieties taste better. Joseph authored Landrace Gardening, Food Security Through Biodiversity and Promiscuous Population. Welcome to the program, Joseph.
Thank you, Holly.
Well, Joseph, I want to thank you for taking time not only to educate Holly and myself, but all of our listeners. And I want to start with this. Many people do not understand what genetic diversity is, and some people may think that is a bad thing. Can you explain what that means, what that term means?
Sure. I might explain it as genetic diversity represents a crop's ability to change with the ecosystem. So if a new bug comes along or a new disease, if the population has genetic diversity, then it can figure out how to deal with that new problem that it's experiencing.
So, go ahead.
Oh, so like modern crops are highly inbred, and we talk about the heirlooms, and they were a great variety like 50 years ago on a farm in Ohio. But then when they come out to my place and there's totally different conditions, they don't grow for me. And they've been inbred for 50 years. And so they've forgotten all of that, what they knew about dealing with the bugs over there in the soil. And so it's really difficult. And then the hybrids, if you take two of those heirlooms and cross them together, you get a hybrid. And when they came to my place, again, they didn't have what they needed because the hybrids were bred with the idea of we're going to use poisons and coddle the plants. And that's not something I want to do in my garden.
Absolutely. So can you explain to us what landrace gardening is?
Yeah, so landrace gardening advocates a return to traditional seed keeping practices and to minimizing labor and materials so that the plants can become locally adapted. And when they're locally adapted, then they can really thrive with less inputs, and it just makes my life easier as a farmer.
So when we talk about, and I'm going to go back to genetic diversity, when we talk about that in the grand scheme of it, so if the plants are genetically diversified and you save them, does that mean that you can basically give them away, sell them, whatever, to pretty much any gardener, and they are going to be much stronger in a different geographical area than what you were speaking about, the hybrids or the heirlooms?
Yeah, so what happens, for example, is if I have crops that are adapted to the local ecosystem, to my high altitude, to the desert, to the low humidity, to the sunlight that's all day long, every day, they do a lot better for my community than the seeds that come from China or that come from Oregon, which is damp and overcast where they've been growing the seed. And so if we can be growing local seeds that also have genetic diversity, then they can really figure out for themselves how to solve those problems that we were trying to solve with labor and materials and poisons or whatever it was we were trying to use to coddle them.
And genetic diversity has been going on in nature since the beginning of time.
Yes, but about 60 years ago, the seed industry decided that they were going to start inbreeding plants. And so basically, every time you cross a plant to itself, you end up losing half of the remaining genetic diversity in that plant or in that population. And so pretty soon you get plants that forget how to grow because they're so inbred.
That's very interesting. So can you tell us more about your book, Landrace Gardening, Food Security Through Biodiversity and Promiscuous Population? Perhaps just a little quick synopsis and whatever would encourage our readers to pick up a copy?
Yeah, so one of the major things that my book does is it advocates dropping all of those rules that interfere with the person's ability to save seeds. And so it really gives a lot of comfort to people that they can let the seeds grow more in a natural system and they're going to thrive. The book covers like corn, beans, squash, tomatoes, grains, animals, and gives cooking tips and seed saving tips. It represents, decades of my life. And the other thing it advocates is having joy in the garden, singing and dancing and just enjoying ourselves rather than getting so caught up in being burdened with all the rules that other people want to put on us about how we should garden.
And I would absolutely agree. There is, I think a lot of people decide that they want to garden, and it has to be, the
It
prettiest.
has to meet a certain criteria for them to be.
And they lose sight of the reason why they started in the first place was to have an enjoyable hobby, and all of a sudden now they're stressing out because one weed is growing or something, and it's
the neighbor's planting before I am. I've got to plant now.
Yeah, and it becomes keeping up with the Joneses versus really observing and enjoying nature. And now you're like angry at some squirrel when that was the squirrel's home in the first place. And yeah,
right.
Soil erosion can be a big problem on large agricultural farms, but also in backyards, and people may not be aware of the type of erosion issues that they may see in their own backyard garden. What are some tips that you can offer to lessen the impact in those backyard gardens?
Yeah, so I'm blessed in my area to live in the desert, and and I don't have much wind, and I don't have much water to be washing the soil away. But in general, if you keep the ground covered, either with plants or with snow in my case, then you can really keep the soil closer to home.
Yeah, we stress on the program, everything in nature that has soil, it's covered in some form or fashion except for sand in the desert. So nature is trying to tell us, here's what you got to do, Goofy. Cover your soil in the backyard.
Right. And I allow a tremendous amount of weeds to grow in my garden. And I think of it as a multi-species, self-regenerating cover crop.
That's interesting because people would, keep weeds out and you allow them to grow for this reason.
Right.
I understand that. I don't hate the weeds, but
they hold the soil in.
They hold the soil in, and as soon as you start pulling, you see it happen, right? You pull these weeds, and there's just dirt clinging to the roots of the weeds. And I know that for a lot of people, they feel it's unsightly, but I totally understand
that's one of those things that you were talking about, Joseph. That people are you got to have a weed-free garden, or you're not a good gardener. Right,
and so I went the other way. I let the weeds grow. And the plants have to be strong enough to outcompete the weeds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in that way, I greatly minimize the labor that I have to put into my garden.
And I like that concept because it is the strongest. And just like your book says, the promiscuous population. And that's what's going on, is that you have these weeds that are doing their thing, and then the plants are hopefully growing or learn to grow. And maybe it might take a couple seasons in that particular ecosystem, but the strongest ones do survive. So
exactly. And then the other thing that I've noticed by using genetic diversity and tasting every plant before I save seeds from it is after a few generations, I get crops that just taste lovely and just make my heart sing for the flavor.
Yeah, that's something we've lost in the varieties we have now.
Mm-hmm.
So do you know much about desert foraging, since you do live out there and you are amongst a lot of the
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to ask, because we've talked to foragers, but they're usually more like in the Midwest or the Northeast. And I know this is a totally different climate than that. So if you want to talk about that at all.
Yeah, so I eat a lot of foraged vegetables and mushrooms because if I go foraging first thing in the spring or when the fall rains are coming, that's good times to forage. I don't do much foraging during the hottest part of the summer because the plants are kind of tough then. But like I eat oyster mushrooms and morels, and I eat a lot of weeds out of my garden, like wild lettuce and purslane and lamb's quarters and amaranth, that are just delightful vegetables, and they take care of themselves. I don't ever have to plant them. And right now I'm eating like the desert parsley and the glacier lilies, and the violets are really good right now.
Well, what was gardening and plants something you had always been interested in growing up, or was there an aha moment somewhere in your life where you were exposed to this and then that love developed?
So I grew up on a 6th-generation family farm, and we fed ourselves off of the farm. And so it was something that I always did. But then I took a career as a chemist and moved to the big city, and I was working to develop pesticides. And they were just nasty, evil things. And I had a mental health breakdown over it and decided to return to farming about 20 years ago or something. And because that was the farthest thing away from that other life that I could imagine. And I'm much happier being a farmer than I was being a chemist.
Certainly being outdoors is one, and not being affected by the chemicals is another aspect of the joy that you're experiencing.
Right.
And I have to commend you. Not many people talk about their mental health, and it's becoming more common these days. But a lot of people would have, just powered through or stuck it out, or even
been ashamed to say anything.
Yeah, ashamed to say anything. And I know I had to leave a tough job for my mental health once, and I was shamed because of it. And I'm glad I left it. It actually led me to meet Joey. But yeah, I know it's difficult and it's good. So I commend you for that.
Oh, thank you. Well, partly I'm becoming a little bit of celebrity right now because I wrote my book, and people are wanting to know the story. And it's like, okay, I can own this, and and just it is what it is. I wouldn't have written the book without having went through that crisis.
Right. Well, speaking of that book, how can people find the book, find you online, and connect with you?
So the book is widely available, like including Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, Lulu. And you can contact me or get my book or subscribe to my newsletter at lofthouse.com, LOFTHOUSE. And I spend a lot of my online time at the goingtoseed.org, where I have a course about adaptation agriculture. There's an online community and seed share there. People can get my seeds from Experimental Farm Network, Going to Seed, or the Buffalo Seed Company.
Well, Joseph,
and I should mention Giving Ground Seeds as well.
All right. Well, Joseph, we greatly appreciate the time you've offered Holly and myself, and the education you provided, not only us, but all of our listeners. We greatly appreciate that and wish you the best in your journey.
Thank you, Joey and Holly.
Absolutely.
Goodbye.
When we come back, it's time for your garden questions. Our garden answers. You're tuned in to the Garden with Joey and Holly radio show.
Got a question for Joey and Holly? Send it via email anytime to gardentalkradio@gmail.com.
Pomona's Universal Pectin is a high-quality pectin that gels reliably with low amounts of any sweetener. If you're trying to reduce the amount of sugar in your diet, you'll love Pomona's Universal Pectin. Now you can make healthy homemade jams and jellies sweetened to your taste. You can use sugar or honey to sweeten. Pomona's Universal Pectin keeps indefinitely when stored in an airtight container. Easy to use, versatile, and comes with directions and recipes in every box. Find out more and where to buy at PomonaPectin.com. Also available at natural food stores and online. Protect your plants from damage with the 3-in-1 Plant Guard and Special Blend Fertilizer. Visit ivorganics.com. Use promo code RADIO10 to save 10% off your order. Deer Defeat is an all-natural based animal repellent to keep deer and rabbits away from your valuable plants that is odorless after 30 minutes and dries clear. It creates a continuous, invisible shield to protect your plants. Works for 30 days through rain, snow, and freeze. Will not clog your sprayer. Apply to your property without environmental damage. You can spray directly onto your plants up to flowering, then apply around your plants to continue protection. No need to reapply. Money back guarantee. To purchase, go to deerdefeat.com and use coupon code RADIO to to save 10% off your order.
Blue Ribbon Organics, providing locally made organic compost and soil blends for gardeners, farms, landscaping, and more. To find our products nearest you, visit blueribbonorganics.com.
Happy 65th anniversary to David J. Frank, Southeastern Wisconsin's leading landscape company. Their award-winning services include everything from lawn care, landscape maintenance, design, construction, renovation, irrigation, sustainability, and more. Big or small, let the experts at David J. Frank handle the hard work for you. Find out more at davidjfrank.com. Are you bugged by bugs? You need naturally green products No More Bugs, environmentally friendly. Made in the USA, No More Bugs is a cedar blend that repels and eliminates mosquitoes, no-see-ums, ticks, fleas, roaches, ants, and more. No More Bugs is safe for you, your pets, and plants. Available online at nomorebugs.net, Amazon, Walmart.com, and the Home Shopping Network. Take the guesswork out of composting with the AeroBin 400 or smaller 200 for easy composting. The AeroBin mimics how nature decomposes waste. The AeroBin is easy to use. You prepare your balanced organic waste, just open it up, drop it in, and close. After a short time, fertile compost is produced, which is easily accessed via the lower side door. The thermal insulation in the AeroBin conserves heat, leading to rapid breakdown of the biomass and works efficiently year-round, even in cooler regions. There is no need to turn the biomass, and it is pet and rodent resistant. It has little odor and can kill annoying weeds and seeds. It is BPA free. The AeroBin 400 or 200 comes with a reservoir at the bottom to collect the leachate. When diluted, makes for great compost tea liquid fertilizer. AeroBin composts kitchen and garden waste quickly. Easy to assemble with no special tools needed. The AeroBin makes composting rewarding and easy. Go to Costco.com to purchase.
Welcome back to the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show. Thank you for being with us today. Happy you have stayed with us. If you got a question, time for garden questions and answers. If you got a question, send it on over to gardentalkradio@gmail.com. That's gardentalkradio@gmail.com. Or give us a call toll free, coast to coast at 1-800-927-SHOW. That's 1-800-927-7469. If we can't get to you, leave a message. We'll call you back with the answer to your question.
That intro music was kind of poppy and like kind of questioning, like game showy, like
Yeah.
Welcome back to the garden show.
Yeah. Guess the showcase showdown. Yeah, I keep you jumping with the intros.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. What poppy thing can I find today? All right, we got a number of questions come in. We'll see how many we get through to the top of the hour.
So this one came in from my boss.
Uh-huh.
My boss, he grew a garden for a while, and then he moved and was building a house and doing all this stuff, and then he's got gardening questions again, and I'm not mad about it. So he wants to know, he wants to plant some seeds this weekend, but then there's rain in the forecast, and he wanted to know, should I plant the seeds right before it rains? Is that good for them? Is that bad for them? What's going on?
Well, you're not a farmer. What I mean by that is, if the rain's coming, you want to make that planter go.
Muck it in.
You want to get that planter across the field a lot quicker, because if you're planting soybeans or corn, you want it to, because the reason I say that, in big ag, there's a long period that you can't get in the field if it's rained in order to get your implement down the field in order to plant. Otherwise, you're just going to destroy the whole, rut it up and get stuck. In the backyard garden or front yard garden, raised bed gardening, you can plant before a rain. However, it depends on what type of rain you're going to get. Is it going to be an all-day drizzle? Plant. Are they calling for thunderstorms or potential downpours? Hold off and wait, because if it's just a drizzle, you can plant your seeds, and it's going to pitter paddle of rain on the seed, the soil, and the seeds will get hydrated, and everybody will be happy. Gully washer, an inch in 2 hours, those seeds have left the garden.
Gully washer.
Yeah, and we're seeing that more and more frequently.
Yeah.
So you want to wait, and then you can still plant the seeds when the soil is like moist, not sopping wet. If you've already got the soil tilled, or a tilth in which you are going to plant, and it rains, you could just shove your finger, if you're planting beans, and just push it and cover it over. You'll be fine. You don't have to disturb much of the soil, and the beans will hydrate quicker because the soil is already moist. But depends on what type of situation is coming, whether you should or shouldn't plant. And the same thing is true with plant starts. If it's going to be an all-day drizzle and you've hardened your plants off and everything's good, put them in the ground. But if it's going to be one of those traditional, downpours and they're calling for strong winds, you want to wait. until your plant, get the plant in on a nice day, let the plant get established, and then throughout the season you're going to have those, but the plant is already in the ground and kind of rooted in and happier.
Yeah. So here's our next.
With these garden questions, it's not a hard, fast yes or no.
Right.
A lot of things take a little bit explanation because it's a very variable and changing.
Well, the reason he asked is because we had taught him, because he likes to grow carrots. We had taught him about putting the cardboard over the carrot seeds to keep the moisture in. So he was like, "Well, isn't the rain good for the seeds?" And I had to explain that not always.
And we've told this story on the program before, where we were going, and for example, if we're going to plant tomatoes this weekend, I had the soil already loosened up, and we were supposed to get rain like Wednesday night, Thursday, and Friday. Well, obviously you can't plant because it's going to be a soggy mess. I have taken tarps and laid in the garden over top of where the tomatoes were going to be planted. So Saturday I could come in and gently pull the tarps off and plant the tomatoes in dry soil so progress could be accomplished on the time in which we had available, and we didn't have to wait multiple days or weeks in order to get back in the garden and plant those tomatoes. So that is based on the size of your garden. If you got containers or raised beds or something like that, you can cover it in order to get to the point where you now have time to plant, and it has already rained, but that area is dry because you had it covered.
Absolutely. So here's another question. I have several oversized zucchini, and I thought they would be woody to try to eat. Is that the case or not? What should I do with them?
Last year, she says.
Oh, last year.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense now. I'm like, is this a question from down under?
Well, no, there people growing zucchini in the South right now.
Oh, that's true.
South in California. So
Yeah.
we have podcast listeners in all 50 states. So yes, if a zucchini plant, if you let that zucchini, I'll pick it tomorrow, and then you forget, and then it's 18 inches long and 7 inches in diameter, it can be very dense and tough to consume because the seeds are much larger and the fibers are much more predominant there. But there is some things in which you can do with an oversized zucchini. You can make zucchini bread. You can actually take the zucchini and split it down the center and remove the seeds, and then a lady at a farm stand taught us this one. You peel it, take the seeds out, and cube it up in decent sized chunks.
You peel it.
Peel it.
Yeah.
Remove the skin.
Sounds like you said pill it.
No, peel it.
You peel it.
Yeah. And then make an apple pie. Do everything to the apple pie except for add the apples. Substitute apples with the zucchini, and nobody will be any the wiser. So that's something you can do. And you can also make zucchini relish. You can also make pickled zucchini, probably not with something of that magnitude. But there is a number of things in which you can do with a very large zucchini outside that you're not having to throw it in the compost pile and letting it rot. All right, what have you found to be the best row markers? Everything I have tried doesn't seem to work. It washes off, and I forget where I often put the notebook that I had notes in of what stuff was planted where.
All right, so we use window blinds,
which does the same thing, but aluminum cans. Inscribe.
Oh, yeah.
Inscribe. You take an aluminum can and cut the top and bottom off, and then you have the sleeve there, and then you cut that and open it up, and you can cut however wide or narrow of tags you want, and you take a pen and inscribe your name of vegetable, and you can wrap it around a tomato cage, an eggplant cage, a pepper cage, or if you have a steak, you can nail it to the steak or staple it to the steak, or if it's long enough, you can wrap it around the steak. If you go to our parent website, thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com, we do have, you search row markers, that video will pop up. And it's a unique way. Now, it's you can save them from year to year or throw them in the recycling bin and get new cans next year and inscribe whatever you want. But it works really well if you're specifically trying to identify items in cages or on trellises. So with that being said, Holly, we are out of time, and we thank you for yours. It's time for What We Learned Today.
I learned that you can harvest morels in the desert. I thought that was like, a upper United States thing, more, I don't know what you call, like deciduous climate type of mushroom that you would harvest. I couldn't believe that he said he was going to, from our guest Joseph Lofthouse, that he was harvesting morels in the desert.
I learned genetic diversity is not, I knew it wasn't a bad word, but I didn't know the in-depth workings of it, and that heirlooms and heirlooms are not as wonderful as we have all been conditioned to accept, I guess is the best way to put it. What we learned today is brought to you by honeybeehealthy.com.
Whether you're a gardener, a bee hobbyist, or a professional beekeeper, Honey Bee Healthy Inc. has the products to help you maintain a healthy hive and thriving garden. For more information on how to use Honey Bee Healthy in your garden, visit honeybeehealthy.com.
Next week, tune into the program where we'll be discussing what to know before you start canning, as well as 4 lawn care mistakes. Our guest is co-owner of a sponsor of the program, PhylumBioproducts.com. John will be with us talking about the company and how we can control bugs on our property. So until next week, for
Holly Baird,
I'm Joey Baird, and we will see you in the garden.